first, let's understand what is commitment. It's a wholesale pricing, right? You commit that, hey, I'm going to use X amount of capacity for a certain amount of time. As against that, you get a, let's say, reduced bill, right? So approximately 60 to 70%, exactly 72% you can get at the highest tier of cost savings you can do by buying the commitment. But a very big problem of commitment is that if you are purchasing a commitment in AWS world, it is the reserved instances or the compute savings plan. If you are purchasing reserved instances, then you are locked into that reserved instance, right? So unless and until you are very sure that a lot, this is something we have seen that a lot of people sees commitment as a low hanging cost saving opportunity, that hey, I purchase a commitment and then I get save 66% of my cost, right? But you do not see the fact that once I purchase, I cannot go back, right? One other very important fact is that in US market, if you are a US entity, there is a way of reselling your commitments in the secondary market, right? You can basically sell it, you can bid for it and sell it. But for us, the entities registered in India who are part of AWS, Indian entity, you cannot participate in that sale, right? Let's take a look at what is your playbook here. As I am saying, do not rush to your commitment. A very good strategy of identifying your commitment is first running your infrastructure in your dev environment, understand what is your spend pattern, which we have talked about in our first point, right? Right sizing your resources. First, right size your resources. First, understand what is your need, what you are going to run your infrastructure on, the capacity, then make a purchase, right? If you are very sure that, hey, this is this is the, it is a X large instance or 2X large instance, and this is what I get, for example, 60 to 80% of my utilization on this particular instance size, then make a commitment. Do not make a commitment before understanding your workload first. You are going to, pay money which you do not use. Part one. Second part, for all the cloud platforms, GCP, AWS, Azure, there is another way of committing is spend-based commitment, right? Where you do not lock into a specific type of infrastructure rather than you commit on number of dollars, right? This is a far better way of committing if you are a fast-growing startup, right? So typically what we have seen is that in a fast-growing startup, your need changes very quickly. Today you are running on a, let's say, X large instance. Tomorrow you are going to, let's say, probably, your, let's say, workload going to increase. You are either going to scale up or scale out, or maybe, you are moving entirely into a, let's say, Kubernetes cluster or some kind of serverless. So these kind of technical changes happen super fast in a fast growing company, right? If you are typically a startup or, let's say, scale up. In this kind of landscape, if you are working for a startup or scale up, you need to be more careful while purchasing commitments. Spend-based commitment is a far better option for you. Why? Because you can move across different instance classes. You can basically play with your infrastructure. You can right size it. You can move to a different instance class while still making sure your commitments are right. So whenever you are making any kind of commitment, so two things, I'm going to repeat this thing because this is a long-term let's say effect of this these commitments. One, until you have right-sized your infrastructure properly, do not purchase a time-based commitment, which is typically, reserved instance in AWS world. And if possible, if you are a growing startup, prefer to go for a spend-based commitment and take spend-based commitment in a staggered manner. Go for 30%, then another 20%, then another 20%, something like that. Okay.